Welcome, everyone. Well, I wanted to ask about events. Is anybody going to the, let's see, we've got in January, the Transformative Vertical Flight event in San Jose. Yeah, Tom, you're going to be there?
Yes, I will. The Pendleton U.S. range is exhibiting for the first time, so Cole Rixey and I will be there.
Excellent. That's a great event. I always enjoy that one. I don't know if I'm going to be there. Pulkit, we'll get started in just a second. I just wanted to chat with folks about the events and what's going on. Will anybody else be out there in San Jose?
I'm expecting to be there.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Are you presenting there, Mike?
Oh, not that I know of, but I think I'm organizing a session on power and propulsion and power. So batteries, charging, hydrogen, hybrid. So if anybody's interested in presenting on that,
Perfect.
let me know.
Perfect.
Sounds like you're only covering power.
What's that?
Sounds like you're only covering the power portion and not the propulsion portion.
Okay.
Remember, propulsion means propel.
Yeah.
It's got thrust in it at some level.
Yeah. Well, it's the application of the power. But there's a huge discount if you are a member, a speaker, and before December 22nd. It's only $500 to attend rather than the higher prices, which are more than double if you're not a member, speaker, or early.
So I need to think of something to talk about.
Or moderate or something.
Yeah. All right. We'll come up with something. And then any other events? Is there anything else going on this year? Or Tom, you and I were just talking a minute ago about how we might be done with most of it for this year.
I don't know. Well, my thing is the government. So with the government opening back up again, there are a number of events kind of happening, but I don't think anything that's kind of AM,
Right.
vertical aviation specific. We were just talking about that the other day. So
yeah,
there is a VFS event on structures. It's a web meeting. In December.
Oh yeah, December 9th and 10th.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that has here it is. That it was when when VFS first converted to the new website. None of the shortcuts work, but now as of this week they do. So VTOL denotes that structure. So it's primarily helicopters, crash worthiness, survivability, things like that. But there may be I haven't looked at the detailed program. There may be. Yeah, so there's stuff about batteries and stuff. So there's some. Oh, so it's online. It's 2 days and it's cheap. Well, it's anyway. You can see the information there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And then in May.
Sorry, if you're a US government employee, it's free, and if you're a VFS member, it's free. So it's really cheap.
Excellent. Okay. Perfect. I'll check that one out. And then we've got the Forum 82 is down here near me in West Palm Beach in May. That's the big one that kind of covers the whole breadth of vertical aviation. That should be fun. Any others to be aware of? Well, something else that I like to do is just give people the opportunity to introduce themselves if they haven't been here before, or if they haven't been here in a while and want to say hello. We always like to use this event, these meetings is good networking and potentially recruiting opportunities, and it's a good way to kind of cross-pollinate ideas. Anybody that's new or hasn't been here in a while that would just like to say hi and let us know what you're up to.
Hey Andy, this is Gordon Bees. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey Gordon.
You want to go ahead,
Hey, thanks for being here.
No, go ahead, Gordon.
I haven't been here for a little while, but you know we participated in the VFS events and I've presented to this group before. Happy to be back, and I work for a company called FT Technologies, and we manufacture wind sensors, either for use on UAMs or for use in vertiports or on scout drones, etc., all that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Yeah, good to see you again. Tom, what's happening, man?
I was a little slow to the punch in answering your question about what else is happening. Since we're looking into 2026, which is scary. Verticon is going to be in Atlanta March 10th to the 12th. So at the Georgia World Congress Center. So for those that are in they're getting a little bit more into the unmanned space as well as the manned helicopters. So big event.
I'm making a note. Yeah.
So close
Atlanta.
to the East Coast folks. Ken's got one.
Yeah, so I'll also be at Verticon. Been going there for 40 years probably since I was a kid. I've participated in a number of conferences up in Canada. In October, there was a Downs for Innovation and Aerospace research event in Toronto, followed by the Canadian Aerospace Summit in Ottawa and the Transport Canada Certification and Delegates workshop. The Toronto event was quite interesting. There was INSAT is a funding body that's funding green aviation, and there was a couple announcements where VFS members would be recipients of funding from the Canadian government. Horizon Aerospace in Ontario and Jaunt Air Mobility, which is establishing a foothold in Quebec, were both recipients of funding. Horizon for anti-icing, and I believe Jaunt for Sense and Avoid. At the Aerospace Summit, Martin was one of the keynote speakers from Jaunt. Airbus was there with some senior level people on the helicopter front talking about Canadian military government partnerships. And then in the Transport Canada Delegates and Certification Workshop, which was the first time it's been held since 2018, there were 5 separate sessions on advanced air mobility, including certification pathways, discussions of the Harbor Air Turbo Beaver, Electric Beaver program, the CAE Electric Piper Archer program. There was a hydrogen workshop for the first time for Transport Canada. I'm in the process of posting to VFS website videos on, I guess, 6 or 7 of the speakers. I'm just waiting to get slides from people, but it was very interesting. Canada has been, I would say, a slow follower, but now shifting gears into a fast follower on AM. And the other thing that's elevated is the RPAS, the drone activity. There's new regulations opening up the beyond visual line of sight in Canada. And for the first time in decades, we're talking about aerospace and defense. Normally, those aren't paired in the Canadian context. They're kept very separate, but there's a recognition that if Canada wants to go to 5% of GDP defense spending, there needs to be industrial strategy to go with it. So there is a fund, about a $650 million fund being created for defense innovation, in parallel with the fund that was previously created, about 450 million Canadian, for green aviation. So there's a lot of things happening north of the border.
Well, that's fantastic to hear that Jaunt and Horizon are getting the funding and partnerships and recognition they deserve. 2 outstanding companies, and I'm thrilled to hear that. It's just such a great way for them to bootstrap themselves up, but they're already both doing amazing things. That's great news, Ken. Thank you. Anyone else with intros or updates?
Hello, I'm just going to take this opportunity. So I do join when I can. Hi, Hazel. I'm based in the UK. I'm currently partway through my doctoral research, specifically looking within the sort of the commercialization of AAM, I'm here, I guess, requesting, canvassing, appealing. As part of the research, I have to interview to get some sort of, I guess, more context and information around the data that's already out there. So I'm specifically looking at how strategic alliances enable commercialization of this technology within a highly regulated industry. So if you're in that space, if you're willing to be interviewed, it's sort of 35, 45 minutes. The expectation is not to go outside of any kind of NDA, but give additional sort of context and verbiage around information that's already out there. I will put my email and contact in the box here. So if you'd be willing to do that, I would be very grateful. There is also an upswing. Once the research is available, I will share it with you kind of ahead of publication. So it may be sort of helpful in the long run.
Outstanding. That's great. And Hazel, do you have access to the links for our previous meetings that we've done? Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of those recordings might give you some ideas as well. There's this group, which is Commercial Air Transport Group. A gent by the name of Johnny Dew runs a similar group that is focused on public services. And then there are others as well, including Danielle's group on hydrogen. So, but yes, please include your information in the chat, and hopefully we can get you connected with the folks that can help you tell your story.
Hazel, it's Brandon from Horizon Aircraft. I put my info in the directly to you in the chat, so happy to volunteer. Just let me know when you have time.
Thank you.
Yeah, just email some availability when it works for you, and I can try to weave it in.
Thanks very much.
Excellent. Thanks for being here, Hazel. Who else? Anybody else that's new or has something interesting going on?
I'll go ahead and introduce myself real quick. My name's Adam Lang. I work for Lift Aircraft out in Austin, Texas. We develop a eVTOL ultralight aircraft, so Part 103 guidelines. So the regulatory, is very different for us under ultralight aircraft specifications, but we're also going through some work with JCAB to try to get an airworthiness certificate out there. So very curious to see what's going on.
Adam, thank you. You've got just an amazing aircraft. You've got I know Jace, and he's doing some great things with your test flying. And Matt has presented to our group before.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen the aircraft and your gang at down here in Florida at Sun and Fun. Are you and your team planning to be back down here in April again?
I don't know if we're gonna make it out this year. I was actually out there for Sun and Fun last year. Right now, they're Jason and Matt are actually out in Abu Dhabi right now doing some demos. So a lot going on.
That's great. That's great. Oh, you must be having a blast, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, tell Matt you need like a personal company vehicle, obviously,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. I live 10 minutes away from work, quick flight over.
Not anymore. Now you live 60 seconds from work.
Exactly.
The productivity is going to skyrocket.
Yep.
Hey, Mike, I see your hand up, and you're muted right now. There we go.
I have a bit of a cold. Yeah, I just wanted to say I did paste into the discussion some of the other the link for the VFS events. There's also this joint event that's in West Palm Beach a few weeks after the forum is going to be there, the International Powered Lift Conference and the SAE Aerotech, and that'll also have a lot of vertical and probably electric and AAM content.
Excellent. That's great. Perfect. Thanks, Mike. Anybody else want to say hi? We got a great gang here. Okay, well, if there's nothing else of note, I'd love to introduce our speakers because we have some really interesting content today. We've got Pulkit Agrawal. He's the lead of regulatory affairs at Honeywell. He focuses on unmanned aircraft systems and advanced air mobility, among other things. He's a private pilot, and at Honeywell, he's previously led interesting projects like the design of the touchscreen controller for the Gulfstream G550 program. And also, Dan Newman previously worked at Honeywell. He's now the chief engineer of maneuver dominance at Anduril Industries. When he was at Honeywell, he was the chief technology officer for advanced air mobility, and he worked with Pulkit at that time. Dan's previously worked on successful projects as part of the Boeing company, developing aircraft configurations, and at the U.S. Department of Defense as a program manager within DARPA, among many other really cool projects. So we've got the right people here today, and they've been over I'd say the past couple of years, they've been working on the regulatory readiness level, which is sort of a companion to the technical readiness level that I think is become commonplace for developing aircraft and all broadly all technologies. So they've developed the RRL as a way to kind of manage where aviation development companies are in the process for certification with the FAA and now EASA as well, right up through certification and even through Part 135 development certification. So it's become a really broad, comprehensive document and kind of certification metric that I think is super useful. And so we're really lucky to have these gents here today to talk about it, and hopefully you've had a chance to download it. If you haven't, go ahead and grab it at the link in the email that I sent. And with that, Pulkit, tell us what you've been up to and what's happening with the RRL.
Thank you, thank you, Andy. This RRL is a idea from Dan. So he actually originated this idea a long time back, and he pulled me. Actually, I feel lucky that he pulled me to make it happen. So this is his idea, and I will let him start this presentation, and then I will pitch in once he's done with why we are doing it. I will just talk about what we did to make it happen. So Dan, all yours.
Thank you, Pulkit. Now, Andy has already covered everything we're going to talk about. So
yeah,
if you have any
I think
questions,
that's
we're done. So we're going to just give you some details here. Truth is, this began after Mark Moore and Mike Hirschberg and I launched the first transformational vertical lift workshop that was in DC in 2014. It was about tools. It was about the opportunity, the promise. This is the second iteration of advanced air mobility, because in the 90s, there was a lot going on with the civil tilt rotor, FAR Part XX, Aerospace, vertiports, rules, certification, and so on. The 609 was a risk reduction activity for larger aircraft by Bell and Boeing. So there's a lot of history there. It all stopped with government was going to do a civil tilt rotor demonstrator, Civil Tilt Rotor Development Advisory Commission from Congress. It all stopped with 9/11. So now we're at a second iteration. And in 2014, when we started the workshops, it was about pre-competitive collaboration and developing the rules and all the things that people are recognizing now that need to be done with Andy's workshop and Johnny's workshop. And these working groups came out of the transformational vertical flight workshops that's now on, I think, year 12 or so. But soon after, Uber published their Elevate document and launched and signed up partners who were doing aircraft. And a lot of people said they were going to have an aircraft in 2 to 3 years certified and in service. Now, looking back, 2014, this happened 2015, 2016. That was a little bit optimistic. We all recognize, because we're way past the 2019 time they'd be in service. And there have been, and unfortunately, with all the purveyors of configurations and concepts and technologies, there has been a dramatic halt to the pre-competitive collaboration. If you talk about like the UH-60 Airloads workshop, where every rotorcraft manufacturer that's doing tools participates to validate and verify the tools in a pre-competitive environment, Not a lot of that is happening because the OEMs had thought that their tools and their databases and their test data are all proprietary and they all have the secret. I think personally, I'd say, this is my words, they're not recognizing that if the market really is that big, there's plenty of room for everybody. And so pre-competitive collaboration would be invaluable, but it stopped. And everyone is seeking the money. And so what you're hearing is more publicity and statements about what they hope to do and could do rather than technical conversations. And so my concern, developed this while I was at the Boeing company, as Pulkit said, was ground truth and a metric. There's no metric for risk. There's no units of risk. There's no units of trust. And there were no units of regulatory maturity. And journalists, and I had a conversation at one of the early Uber Elevates with Graham Warwick about, should they repeat what's said by the purveyors or should they have a objective view? And Graham admitted, there's technology, he's covering seabed to space for all of aerospace. And so can't be an expert, and they have challenge filtering what they're told, but there's a 24/7 news cycle. And so the challenge here is what's the truth on regulatory maturity? And so I conceived of this regulatory readiness level at Boeing, but since the merger with McDonnell Douglas, Boeing has been out of the civil vertical flight activities. They divested from the MD series of helicopters at the Mesa site, and they divested from the 609 and the Boeing 234 at the Philly site. And so Boeing wasn't really behind it. And in 2024, I went to Honeywell, met Pulkit, and found the brains here. He's the brains of the outfit, and the opportunity to make the RRL real and offer it. So we're going to go through the RRL. It is a suggested metric for regulatory readiness, and we're not saying certification because it's really open to, for unmanned aircraft, the SORA and SAIL levels. Maybe it can be applied to that as well. It's really about regulatory approval of the aviation operations, aircraft and operations, and we'll go through it, but it is open to debate, and it is an industry consensus because there's no adult in the room that's going to say you must use this. Well, just like TRL, it's all about acceptance. I've used a lot of words to calibrate, but I just want to give you the background on where it came from. And to be honest, a bit of a frustration on my part that statements in the press and the media and briefings by purveyors and by those listening to the purveyors of products, they're adding terms, they're creating terms that don't really mean regular. I'll give you an example. Vertical just announced that they flew a transition flight, a piloted transition flight. That's great for technical readiness, but if they've not submitted any additional artifacts, it makes no difference to regulatory readiness. It's a technical readiness milestone, and maybe an acceptance readiness milestone, which could be another metric. But really wanted to come up with an objective set of metrics, and we're going to go through it and invite you to help us make it better, to comment on it. It is still emerging. We think it's kind of mature, but until it's really put into practice by many people, it's not going to be pressure tested. So this is the agenda. I've set a lot of this certification situation. I don't want to ding any particular offerers, but there are statements they've made that can be, we chose not to put in articles where people have made statements, my conforming aircraft is, on the drafting board. What does that mean, right? How much regulatory progress is that? So we've chosen not to ding anyone in particular, but I expect most people will agree that the statements made have not always been rigorous, nor on the same scale, so they're not comparable. I'll introduce the RRL, talk a little bit about why. Go back just one, please, Pulkit. We'll talk about the FAA and the EASA and where we are. Compare it to EASA's CRL, which can be confusing, and I just want to clarify that. And then recognize those who've helped us and then the products that are out there. And so I'm going to do the first half. And as I said, Pulkit's the brains of the outfit. He's going to do the second half. Next chart, please. Talked a lot about this. Aircraft certification is incredibly mature, lots of safe aircraft. The rules are still emerging for novel aircraft and new power, as Mike said, power and propulsion. And then the passengers and even some journalists they're learning, but they didn't really know about the esoterics of aircraft certification. And then along comes the AAM initiative, and it gets a little worse because the rules aren't quite there yet, and people are seeking money. To be honest, they're seeking market, but they're also at this time seeking money, and they're not going to be seeking customers until they have an aircraft that they can charge for. And there's several on the path. Some of them are not as realistic, and maybe this is a way to separate the wheat from the chaff on what's really on a good path. Now, who will make that assessment? Will companies make their own? Can you make an assessment without seeing their real details? Those are real questions about, but Sergio Cicada, who's got his reality index, maybe this is a tool that can be helped, and others. And then again, the articles, and people are I don't want to be disrespectful, but there are many who are purposely vague and misleading because they're seeking investment and they don't want to share how far they may have to go. Next chart, please. I love this. This is Norman Rockwell. Neither of them are using their thumbs, but the expression is putting your thumb on the scale. And even though this was a Honeywell start, it's intended to be an industry tool set for parity and not to be used for promotion, like the TRL. Next chart, please. So we've constructed it like TRL, which is probably the most accepted readiness level. 1 through 6 is really tech readiness, and 7 through 9 is application readiness. And people talk about TRL 6 saying the technology is ready. Well, no, the technology is understood to the level where we can decide if it gets transitioned. But we decided that we'll do aircraft type certification 1 through 6, and then operating approval 7 through 9. For something like the SORA sail levels for unmanned aircraft, that covers both. So that'll be applied a little differently. But we started with FAA. The goal is an objective measure. I'll talk a little bit about TRL, MRL, SRL, and IRL, other readiness levels. But again, it's on a scale of 1 to 9. And we built a checklist, and the intent was to build a calculator like TRL, where the AFRL maintains what was created, a TRL calculator, by the Defense Acquisition University, now the War Acquisition University, it turns out. Next chart, please. So think of that 1 to 9. So the goal here was, again, journalists, no disrespect intended, investors, there's a lot of dumb money out there, and it really could go to good use. Aircraft developers, the public, really for everybody to have something grounded metric. Next chart, please. TRL, I think everybody's familiar with it. NASA, 1960s space program, 9 levels, 1 through 6 is really, do we understand the technology enough to say we can transition it? What are the costs? What are the ilities? Reliability, maintainability, and so on. And then 7 through 9, got some great stories about getting to TRL 6 with proving it's a great technology, but it stopped in its tracks because it couldn't be painted, it couldn't be fixed, it couldn't be inspected, etc. Next chart. Click once, please. So there's a TRL calculator. As I mentioned, it's a great rigorous process if you're not familiar with it, with a series of yes or no questions. Do I have a model? Does the model calibrate, validate? Has it been correlated with test data? Has it been test data in relevant environments, and so on? It's a great tool. AFRL maintains it, and it makes for a rigorous metric that allows for an objective party to really test whether your TRL statements are valid. Click once, and then, it's got simple questions here. prototypes have been created, tooling and machines demonstrated in a lab, etc. So these are yes, no questions. It's a great process. And we had hoped to do that with RRL, but there was some concern by the legal folks that it could be misunderstood. And so right now it's still just a checklist, but it would be straightforward to build a calculator out of it. Next chart, please. And for those who are not as familiar, there's also the manufacturing readiness level is almost as well known as the TRL. Next chart. There's a systems readiness level. Stevens Institute of Technology is the leading purveyor of these. Click it again. It's actually not as mature because there's more than one scale existing. Next chart. And then the same with integration readiness level. Next chart. It has more than one scale. So the maturity is a measure. Okay. So Pulkit, next chart. Pulkit and I created this readiness level of readiness levels. Talk about nesting. So these four, and I threw together their maturity and their acceptance. And IRL and SRL are not well known, so I put them low on acceptance. MRL and TRL are well known and relatively mature. And the dot at the bottom for the purple dot for regulatory, I said it's not accepted because we're still just introducing it. And we have really tested it, but don't want to claim its maturity until it gets tested by the industry and people comment on it and we make it better. So my hope is the trajectory is this purple line, that it will get accepted and then it will get confirmed and validated as being good, or it will be fixed. And then over time, it will be further accepted. But this is a community thing. There's no individual or individuals that can make this happen. But this is the intended trajectory for the RRL. Next chart. Again, we pressure tested this with a lot of people. I think there may be some on the phone. We didn't put names in here, but at all of these OEMs, we've gotten feedback on it. EASA and FAA have given us informal feedback because they can't officially. The organizations didn't, but many of their employees did. The Collinear Group, great thank you to a commercial industry that works in certification, and they did a great job of helping us out with this. And we continue to solicit their help. And then all of these different societies, VFS, AM Institute, AIAA, et cetera, have all reviewed it. We've gotten experts, a lot of former FAA folks. One person, I won't name them, said, this is 2 years late. And that was a year ago. So, wish this was out sooner and really trying to promote it. That's part of this campaign that this presentation is for. Next chart, please. You can read these on your own. These are folks that I see the one on the right. We could have had this 2 years ago. Al Lawless was a great supporter, the Electric Propulsion Flight Test Council, Dan Sloat of AAM Institute, et cetera. Lots of endorsements. Next chart, please. And so we have this checklist. Honeywell has been generous enough to put some slick on the front end of it in terms of graphics, and the website, and Pulkit is still there, and he's maintaining this. It started with just FAA and it's gone to EASA, and we're maturing it as we go. And the expectation was a quarterly or biannual update. And there is a way to submit feedback online or directly to Pulkit or I or others. We are open to feedback. We are not defensive. We want this to be better or to be confirmed as good as it can be. Next chart, please. And so now I'm going to hand over to Pulkit, again, the brains of the outfit. He's going to explain what we've done with FAA and the progress on the EASA work. Pulkit, to you.
Thank you, Dan. And this is great discussion on why we are doing it. I'm just going to talk about how we did it. Actually, the information is always there. It was already there. What we did was we pulled out those information, created a checklist, and divided based on a lot of so you see a lot of milestones are already present in this type certification document or picture. You can see the order number 8110.4C. This is from FAA. That order number does order document does have all the steps which are required, and it actually points to different places on the other documents. There is another one which is coming up, like 4D. We are reviewing that. Once that 4D version is approved, we will incorporate those changes into this particular RRL. But I just wanted to make sure that I don't call this as an innovation, it's a discovery. The information was always there. We are just pulling that information and putting it at one place and making it readable and creating this RRL levels. 1 through 6, as Dan mentioned, it is for type certification, and 7, 8, 9 is for the operational approval. So this one is just to talk about the implementation phase, because there are 5 phases in the overall certification process, the type certification. And I just put, there is nothing different here, just wanted to give more emphasis on the implementation phase, because this is a very loaded phase. Once you have done all the planning, you are done, you start doing your lab testing, you start doing your flight test, putting the data to the FAA, getting the TIA approval, then FNR testing. So a lot goes on in this particular phase, and that's why I just wanted to give a little bit more respect to this phase here. And the similar way, we use the 8900.1. This is the operational approval process, where the operational approval authority will make sure that there are 3-gate process, and we used all the steps in that particular process, which is a pre-phase application phase, then application phase, and then you go to the final approval. So we use this total for FAA. I think this is around 120 steps altogether. 89 defines the RRL stage 1 through 6, and then 20 or 29 or around is for the operational approval. So this is ultimately the FAA regulatory readiness level we came up with. I will give you a little bit insight of how the document looks like. We are looking for feedback. If everybody can provide the feedback to me and Dan, I can start incorporating those feedback into the RRL checklist. I can use, so there are two things which I see. This is RRL levels are good, but this document can also be used as for every company can be used as, oh, these are the steps we need for going for the type certification or operational approval. It is one place. If you give 15 document, nobody's gonna, I don't know. I mean, people usually read it, but it's pretty easy, 13 or 20 pages document, which you can just refer it and say, oh, these are the steps you have. If you see any steps missing or any steps wrong in that particular document, come back to us, and I'll make sure I fix those items there. Similarly, this is the way the RRL checklist document, when you download, a download is free. You can download from the website, and anytime once you download it, anytime we make the changes, our marketing team will send you the updated changes to the community who has already downloaded. So, and we have a lot of downloads already. We have around 500 or 600 download already on this document across the world. So this is how the document is organized. You have a banner which talks about the higher level RRL level. We have an interim level for FAA, which says, okay, if you can, and you need to complete all the steps to claim for RRL level. So RRL, to complete the RRL2 or claim that you got the RRL2, you need to have all the labels completed. There are interim steps. Anytime you have a document which the steps pointing to different document, we do have a link to in the document. So if you want to go to that particular document, you go and start looking into that particular document. So it's information at one place, checklist, RRL level. It has multiple use, I would say. We have presented this to FAA and EASA, and then both really like the way we are going in this. Okay. Now that was for the FAA part. So now similarly we actually did for the EASA type certification. I'm still working on the EASA operational approval, and that we will be doing it probably next year. Now this year is over almost. So EASA is kind of a different process. Not the different process. It's kind of similar process. It's just the wordings are different. So they go through the DOA approval and type certification process. It needs to be together. I mean, you need to have a DOA before you go for a type certification, or you can apply together. So this is a good process. There are documents I have written here which says which document talks about a particular approval or so if you see in this document, it says that this picture, it says that the checkpoint too. So their DOA has a 5-phase process, or they call it as a checkpoints. And when you go to the checkpoint 2, that's the right time or recommended time to start going for the type certification. Because by then you have your organization approved and you have your product readiness approval done, and you start going for the type certification process. And then after that, you can work together on type certification and DOA. I'm not looking for talking about the process here. It's just caught my eye. So here is the thing. So I'm not explaining the YASA process. Process is there in the document. If you see any problem, come back to me and I will correct it in the RRL checklist. The YASA process is also 5-phase process, which is already documented in CRT 172-02. This document is also mentioned in the RRL checklist. If you go and look into all these documents, and hyperlinks are present in there. Similarly, so out of these, we have around 100 steps from these documents mentioned in the YASA checklist, or YASA portion of the checklist. This is another thing which I really liked. What YASA does is they have a panel, and everything is coordinated through the PCM, the Program Certification Manager or Project Certification Manager, and each stream has a expert panels, and they use these panels for review or for flight testing issues and everything through these panels. And these panels are coordinated through the PCM. So somehow I liked it, so I'm putting this on the chart here. This way, these are the reference document we used for the RRL. You see these documents, and these documents with the link are also present in the RRL document when you open it. The way this RRL YASA is defined is, again, you have a red banner, you got a RRL label there. Reference document is also mentioned. Even the reference number is mentioned, where we have a specific pulled out the data from a specific place from a document. And the operational approval is still in work. These are the RRL 6 levels. Any update to this or any comments to these RRL levels, please reach out to me and I'll look into that part. So this, any questions? Virginia.
Hey, Pulkit. Hi, Dan.
Hey.
And first, I just want to say that this is a really great and useful document, and I love the way it's got objective, transparent checklists. I've got the document that I downloaded from Honeywell's site in front of me, and I've been looking through it, looking at the checklist. It doesn't have a lot of room for wishful thinking with those objective, transparent criteria in the checklist. So thank you for bringing this out and publishing it. My comment is about special conditions, particularly related to propulsion and to automation. I wonder if you're considering putting in maybe some loops or some pointers for here's where you start to need to document your special conditions.
We
That's a
do have,
great point.
yeah, it is a great point. We do have a couple of steps in the RRL checklist. If you go and save that you have already a proper certification basis already exist, or if doesn't exist, have you started the issue paper process? Have you started putting your I think there is a it does talk about the NPRM or NPA wherever it is required. So that process is mentioned, but if you think that we need to elaborate a little bit more, yes, we'll look into that part.
I think specific manufacturers, if they'd had this as a blueprint from the get-go, and if they'd had those pointers about the special conditions, that there would have been no excuse for, or less excuse for, optimistic timelines.
Yes. Okay.
Well, people didn't know what they didn't know, and the challenge
Yeah.
is that those who were claiming them were talking to people who didn't know them either. Pulkit has been reluctant to put timelines on this because that's very technology specific and investment specific. But 2 years to certification from conceptual design is just not realistic. But we have been reluctant to claim those. It may be valuable to put in historical published trends for how long things took as a reference without making judgment. Again, objective, historical. People can say I'm smarter, but if we were to put the historical references in, they'd have to show who they're smarter than, right? That is great work we could do. We don't have the bandwidth to do it. Maybe at the end, we'll talk about, should we establish an RRL community to have regular meetings to not only collect better ideas, but implement some of these ideas. Again, it needs to be community built, community accepted. And we're throwing this out there to the community, hoping that it's accepted. And so, okay, enough. Back to, did that answer your question?
Yeah, and but Dan, I think even if you did assign timelines to that, people would still ignore them. But again, that doesn't detract from this is a real step forward in transparency and communicating how long certification does take.
Well,
and another
as
thing
Pulkit said, this is to inform the people doing it, and it's to inform the people they're trying to convince that they're doing it right.
Yep. Another thing I see, this tool or this RRL checklist can become a harmonization document too, because there are both side, FAA and EASA, both are mentioned here. So in case if you see some synergy where these two can be compared, there is opportunity there. Ken, I see your hand up.
Oops. There we go. Okay, a couple things. I think the last word that you mentioned was the harmonization. And of course, what we've seen in the sort of the helicopter world is, whereas once it was almost concurrent where EASA and FAA Transport Canada would certify within the same window, we've seen up to 2-year plus lags, whether it's the H160, EASA, and then FAA 2 years later, or the R66 where FAA certified, and it was almost a 2-year gap for Transport Canada and EASA because of different issues. But the other thing that I've seen is, focusing on entry into service. Oftentimes, there's some post-certification activity or activity that's separate from the actual type certificate. And I'm thinking of maybe 3 things. One is icing, 2, IFR, and 3, sometimes the requirements for additional optional hardware on the aircraft, such as emergency or pop-up floats. And I'm curious whether those kinds of things fall within this readiness level, or are there almost sort of supplemental post-type certificate activity? And should they be part of the checklist, and how does one incorporate those?
Let me just jump in. I don't know from Pulkit's answer, but if you choose to certify without those, they become post-certification activities. If you choose to certify with them, they're part of the certification. So this doesn't address what you're certifying, only how to certify.
Yep.
Right. So I guess that for each OEM, then, they may or may not disclose what's part of that initial certification package. But I know that whether it's icing or IFR or maybe emergency float requirement, if you're going into New York, maybe you need it, maybe you don't. Multi-engine helicopters right now have it. Does an eVTOL meet the same criteria? That can add additional time in terms of entry into service then.
Agree on that
Yep.
part.
Yep.
But yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more suggestions, questions?
Hey,
So-
sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
It's Mike Rochford. Yeah, I guess I have a comment on something that Dan said at the beginning, but I'll hold it till you're done. Sorry.
Okay. So we have been asked several times whenever we provide this briefing. There is a FAA and EASA both are working on the CRL, the certification readiness level. And is there a difference? It is a duplicate effort. So we just wanted to clarify that the CRL, which FAA and EASA are working on, is basically they are working on the maturity of the regulations for a particular technology. So if you have an AI, you have a hydrogen fuel cell, the CRL scale and from FAA and EASA both are talking about how their maturity of those regulations are and when these regulations will become fully mature. In case if you see in this, I think this is an hydrogen fuel cell. No, this is an AI roadmap from FAA, and it does talk about how they are going to mature the regulations along the timeline. So 2027 learning AI, daily learned AI will be 2026. This is how their thoughts are for the CRL. Any questions?
CRL is about the regulations and RRL is about the products.
Yep. So this is some of the recognition. So Dan already mentioned about the Collinear group who has helped us to review all the FAA type certification and operational approval, provide a lot of good comments, and we incorporated those. I also want to thank you, the Jonathan Stephen, who is from Otis, head of the Otis Airworthiness Department. He provided comments, and Zoan, he is from the EASA Gamma representative from Europe side, and he has provided comments on this one. So thank you to these guys. I will be moving to a different topic now. So if you have a question, we can take it now. Okay, so this is, I think I keep pulling this one wherever we do this presentation. And as we know, AAM regulations are moving. I mean, everybody wants to be the first in this field or in this industry. And the technology will be helpful, that the aircrafts are good, but the thing is, unless you have a regulations built in properly for the country, they can't move there. So what we are doing here is we are actually decided 5 major milestones, and out of those 5 major milestones, we created this chart for different certification authority. DGCA is India, ANAC is Brazil, GCAA, CAAC is China. You got JCAB, Japan, FAA, and EASA. And based on the milestones, we created this horse race, and then see how the countries are doing against the regulations. And you see right now we have type certification approval or type certification done in only one place, which is China, who is moving forward here. And others, most of the documents are already released. Some of them in the process. So I know there was a lot of discussion to expand it to a further one level down. We did that, but this is the higher level view of the overall regulation. Okay, Honeywell also has this state of UAS certification. So what it is actually a 2-page document which talks about for a particular use cases, what are the type certification obligations you need to do, or what are the operational approval required. Similarly, for the EASA, you have a type certification and operational approval. Second page talks about all the source document which are used to create this first page. So this is a this is good document because you have everything at one place, all the documents at one place. You can click in. It is a hyperlink to the document So it's now, after creating this document, I actually forgot myself from where to get these things. So I usually take this one as my go-to place. just click on the item, and then it is going to give you the document or the rules and regulations. After part 108 released, we are actually updating this document right now. It should be out within a couple of days. I just wanted to give a heads up that this is what we are doing it. If you want to download it today, you can download it today, or probably after a week, where we have the latest version, where we have part 108 and other EASA changes which happen throughout the year.
Outstanding.
So
Yep,
one
and
last
this-
chart. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Pulkit.
No, go ahead. This is yours.
No, this is where to go get the stuff that Pulkit has generated. It's on the Honeywell websites. So this is the state of certification. We have another QR code coming up for the actual RRL, but there's one more chart after this, and it's probably, I want to leave time for, well, there's not much time. Next chart.
No, this is good. I think you.
Oh, this is it?
Yeah,
Okay, there was a
this
next
is-
steps chart. Go back one. Go back
Yeah,
one.
this one.
What happened to the next steps chart?
This
Oh.
is the next step chart. I'm on
Oh,
the.
I'm looking at the wrong thing. Got it. Okay, so Pulkit did the FAA stuff. He's doing the EASA stuff. We want to do more iterations. We'd like to hear feedback. We'd like to consider, maybe SORA, other things. There's other readiness levels, logistics. NavAir has approached us about their logistics readiness level and trying to give it the same kind of rigor. The aviation insurers came to us because they're trying to figure out how they can measure aircraft risk and maturity. So people like the idea of the readiness level. We really want to focus on this one. But it hasn't promulgated. And so the last thing I'd like to introduce is maybe we should create an RRL working group where people can give ideas and help us add more to it and promote it. So that's the last thing. It's not even listed here, but that's probably something important, is to create an industry-wide RRL working group. Thoughts?
I love it.
Well, yep, and I know I don't know if Al Wallace is with us, but he's got an excellent group that if you haven't spoken to their organization already, I know they'll get a lot out of this also.
Yeah, ultimately we want this to be people start using it, the industry start using it, so this gets more visibility and objective measures and objective news, I would say.
Yeah.
So that's all we had.
This is
Thank-
great. That time blew by very quickly. Any questions or comments? Mike?
I had one comment. So Dan mentioned that there's a problem with purveyors of AAM, say, and some of the things that they have said in the past have been appalling. I had a conversation, I'm going to name names here, but with Alakai, and I talked with their CEO, and it was backed by Dan Golden, the former NASA administrator. He says, yeah, we're going to fly in the next couple of weeks, and we're expecting to be certificated in the next, I don't know, 6 months or a year or something like that. And I'm like, wow, these guys, I mean, like these guys must know something I don't know. This was in 2018, 2019. But now I think what we see is, yeah, I mean, you see these kind of puff press releases. Vertical a couple hours ago published that they had begun their transition testing, but they provided no details. And you look at the picture, it doesn't look like they've actually started tilting the propellers or done anything else. They provided nothing. It's just we started transition testing. So there's a lack of information. And then there's what I've seen, Dan, is a big problem now with not the purveyors, but the detractors, where people will say, oh, hydrogen is never going to happen, or eVTOL will never be successful, or and they come up with all these statements that sound legit. And I mean, even hydrogen, right? And I used to say this about eVTOL, there's 1,000 reasons why it won't work. But we think there's a solution that, more solutions than problems. So, again, it's a tangential to your discussion, I'm sorry, but it's like, we need people to throw the bullshit flag, not only for people who are saying things that are obviously untrue or I shouldn't say untrue, but things that seem to be unbelievable, both from proponents and, both pros and cons, proponents and detractors. And I've been trying to do a little bit of that on LinkedIn to say, like, to throw the bullshit flag a little bit more. But anyway, sorry, that's a bit of a tangent.
It's okay. I mean, the metric helps. Like I said, risk and trust and regulatory don't have metrics. The goal here is to come up with a metric for the regulatory. Now, can you get all the data you need to actually make an assessment? As Pulkit said, it may just be to inform those who are doing it, and also to inform those who are inside the firewall assessing their maturity so their claims can be realistic.
You're a little bit faint, Dan, but I made you out.
Okay.
Any other comments before we wind it up?
I'll just
Thank you all for listening. We seek feedback. We want to make it better, and we seek ideas on how to make this, how to promote this so it gets used and then improved.
Well, this is just a tremendous amount of work that went into this, and it's a great metric to use. Pulkit, when should people call you? What sorts of partnerships are you looking for, or link ups are you hoping that that your hard work here will realize? When should we pick up the phone and give you a shout?
I am available 24/7 for this particular thing. So if somebody calls me middle of the night, I will talk to them. Yes, but I do have my email address also written in the document. So any feedback, anything is there. I mean, yeah, we are. I will be looking forward for those emails and any call. Absolutely.
That's a risky offer, sir.
That's fine.
So Pulkit, will you be there next Wednesday in DC at the Honeywell
Yes.
event? Okay, so I can catch up a bit more there. Just as an example, also, you've got FAA and EASA. So Joby announced, I think yesterday, that they're flying in Saudi Arabia, and there, I think it's GCAA.
Yes,
I think it is. It sounds like they're gonna just approve it without having a FAA type certification. So they've got some of their own regulatory plans, as does UAE.
Yeah. So no. So I don't know if I can make speculations there, but again, ultimately, I assume that the UAE will see the safety. So and then otherwise it's a taking risk. So yeah, they will be doing due diligence for this, I would say.
And it's UAE and Saudi Arabia. So
Saudi Arabia.
Maybe it was the announcement a couple of days ago, but yeah, they may not wait for FAA certification.
Maybe not.
I mean, I would love to see that process. Yeah, I would love to see that particular process, how it works, and what they did to get the approval done. I mean, what type of testing they have performed, what type of documentation they have performed. But I'm sure they have to provide some documentation to get the approvals.
I'm assuming they're going to go at risk for some limited operations while FAA certification is pending, but they have their own. They've developed some sort of framework or regulations.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. I mean, similar to something like an EIPP program where you get limited operations and expand your operations with the data you have.
Anyway, so in addition to Dan and Pulkit, I'd also like to thank Andy for providing these great and VFS, Tom Risen for providing these great opportunities to talk about these important issues.
Well, it's a joy when you got speakers like these in a group like this. This is fantastic, and I feel like we're really lucky to be the benefactors of all the hard work that Dan and Pulkit have put into this. So thank you both.
Thank you.
I don't know if my
And
phone's
Dan,
opened again.
we can barely hear you, buddy.
Okay, let me try loud and talk right into it.
Now
Yep.
this is good.
If you can
That
figure
works.
out how we can do, if you can figure out how we can create an RRL working group, maybe we do that through TVF, maybe it's a spin out of yours or a spin out of theirs. But, you know, it's not going anywhere until we actually talk about it and mature it and communicate it and give people the tools and inform them so they could give this briefing to their own groups.
Well,
So
let's set up
just
a
think
call and
about
talk
that.
about that offline. I like it. I think that'd be fantastic. And I know people would, especially the airframers, would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and just
So we
one
get to
thing on that.
pre-competitive again.
One thing on that, Dan. So EASA, UKCAA, and FAA have a working group on hydrogen regulations, and they've looked at specific stuff. So that could also be, if that fits within your AAM, that could also be something to leverage.
And
Good, thank you.
Ken, I see your hand up, and then we'll wind it down after your comments, Ken.
Yeah, I'm just curious, you guys had talked about, informing the media. I'm wondering how much media pickup has this actual document received? Have you been able to monitor that? Has it been referenced anywhere? And where would you like to see it referenced?
Everywhere, AvWeek, Vertiflight, My Daily Launch from the AIAA, Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
I mean, this is a good document. I mean, it has multiple use cases. It's not just one use case. I think this should be promoted well, because even when we were providing the FAA this brief in our yearly meeting with the FAA, the first question was how you guys are promoting this document. So that's the one thing.
So let's so Andy, I complimented you once. How about if you help them set up a discussion in the next month, in the coming weeks, on laying out how to create a working group, and getting press coverage. Like I can get press coverage of this and things like that. So if you don't mind, Andy, maybe you can be the recipient of or send out a call to this working group about having at least a discussion.
Absolutely.
Just
We'll do that.
recognize nothing about this is about AAM. This is about FAA certification and EASA certification.
Yep.
It happens to be inspired by AAM, but it is not specific.
Yeah. Okay.
You're agnostic.
Yep.
Great. Love it. We'll do it. Hey, thanks everyone. Spectacular meeting today. Great
Thank you.
content. Great work.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you all.
much.
Very
Bye-bye.
good.
Bye. Thank you, Andy.
Oh, of course. I'll send you a link to my let's see. I'll send you a link to my Calendly so you can review my schedule with Pulkit, and then if you guys want to put something on there, I'll circulate the word out. Just do it maybe a week or two out, and then I can try and pull in folks like Al Lawless and Ken and some of the VFS folks that we had here today, and anybody else that you can think of, so we can kind of collaborate on how you want to set that up.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks for
Talk
the
to
hard
you
work,
later.
man.